This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vossoughi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, joined by my co-host, Arash Vossoughi, and we are so happy you are here. Arash, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mikey. How are you?
I am doing great as well. You know, one of the top podcast episodes that we have ever done is goal setting for world-class performers. And so I thought today we would build on that episode and do advanced goal setting and achieving. What do you think?
I'm good. Let's do it.
All right, then the first question I have for you is this. You have worked with thousands of high achievers from all around the world. And what is the difference in people who set goals and actually achieve them and those who fall short?
It comes to, first off, they have an all-in commitment at that goal. Number one, we have great focus. And I say we because we're creating the processes from the goal. And you're getting the cause of the gap of the main problem they have to solve. Most people are treating symptoms. I think most people have goals. They have goals written down for the people that I work with. For the most part, they know what they want. But what happens is they don't understand the purpose of a big goal. So the ones that achieve it really understand it. The purpose of a big goal is to transform ourselves. We can't achieve a big goal until we transform ourselves and to transform our life. And one of the questions I consistently start with somebody is, let's use an aggressive timeline. I want to use time as a tool, not linearly, not the past creates the present creates the future. And one of the questions I ask them is, think of the goal you want to accomplish more than anything else that will absolutely change your life. That's the goal. Most people are setting lesser goals. So the first thing we have to understand is, what do I want? Then what is the standard that I have to become to achieve that? See, we're not kept from big goals because we can't achieve them. We're kept because of obstacles. And we're constantly accepting a lesser goal or lesser standard. I love a lot of, I've studied recently Steve Jobs very closely. And I've studied some of his philosophy, and it's been fabulous. But one thing that he says that I just love, that goes right into this, he says, people think focus means saying yes to the thing you have to do. But that's not what it means at all, he says. He says, focus means saying no to the hundreds of other ideas that are great. So that's when we start looking at that. What is that one thing? What is that one thing? And then saying no to everything else that is not that one thing. That's what the greatest goal achievers have. And the hardest part for people is they're saying yes to lesser goals. Why? Because it's more comfortable. And everyone listening to this is going to have the same challenge. I have the same challenge. You have to train yourself to not do that. But we have to train ourselves to understand, what is the main problem I have to solve to achieve that goal? That problem's always us. And then we look at our business and we have to ask ourselves, am I willing to be the best in the world at this one thing? That problem that I have to solve? Am I willing to dedicate the next 3 months and then another 3 months, if I haven't achieved it, then break it into 90 days of deliberate practice, that one skill set? Am I willing to come from that strategy, from the person who had already achieved the goal?
You said something really interesting there. And I want to go into it a little bit deeper. You said that people are choosing lesser goals because it's more comfortable. And I believe what you're saying there is not even that it's consciously more comfortable, but it's the way that our brains are wired to conserve energy. And it's not even like we're saying, oh, I want to be lazy. Oh, I want to be a less version of myself. I don't want to go after the big goal. It's just the way that we're wired pulls us to the more comfortable, lesser goal. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think the reason, I would agree with that 100%, but I think the reason is too many people have too many priorities. So they have a double binding message going on through their day. Even the most motivated high achiever is still plateauing and creating incremental results because they are not making the most important thing the priority. They're making what's comfortable the priority. I've been doing things a certain way. I'm forever talking about this quote that my mentor got ingrained in me, and I've been speaking about it quite a bit recently. But he used to always tell me, before we start anything, we start with this quote by Dr. Buckminster Fuller. He says, "You can never change things by fighting existing reality. To change something, you have to build a new model that makes the old model obsolete." And so that's the challenge is people in goal achieving are going to the goal. They're letting what they did before dictate what they're going to continue doing, thinking if I do it harder, if I just put my head down and work harder. So too many people are grinding their way to the goal. Now, I don't think grind is always bad, but it is bad when we're talking about goal achievement. It's not bad when we're talking about deliberate practice because it demands grit. But when we're talking about a goal, I want everybody to put in their mind their goal right now. Now, I want you from this point on to think, what is the strategy from my goal? I've already achieved this goal. And if I deconstruct how I achieved it, what was the strategy that I achieved? See, most people don't think of it like that. So they're coming from their past and present self and creating the same outdated model to create similar strategies and think they're going to achieve something greater. And that's not how it works.
You brought up double binding messages there. And way back when we first started this podcast, we did an episode on double binding messages. And it's still one of my favorite episodes. For anyone not familiar with that term, you said they have multiple priorities and a double binding message that they're sending every day. What do you mean by that?
Well, they're saying, I want X, but operating back to how they've always operated. It's not going to happen. So if somebody wants to create wealth, they can't think in lack and limitation. If somebody wants to increase their sales, they can't be complaining about leads. They have to optimize their leads. If somebody wants to increase their confidence, the rest of the day, they have to disrupt comfort and do things out of their comfort zone. They have to do things before they're ready. And so when we're not, it's a double binding message. And most people are unaware they're even doing the double binding messages because they have that old, outdated model that I'm just going to work harder. See, I think Einstein says it the best, where he says, all you have to do is match the frequency of what you want. So I can't operate with low energy and achieve something great. And here's the biggest thing. It's going to sound so simple that people can reject this so easily. Most people will not let go of good to create what's great. They won't let go of it. But that's what the goal demands. The goal doesn't demand, if you have a worthy goal, just to be good. It's to be great. It's to transform. Personal freedom demands personal transformation. That means I've got to do things that I've never done before. That means I've got to lead differently. But the biggest person I have to lead is myself. And we have to get so good at the micro, the little details. And when we don't take care of the little details, then it goes into chaos. And that's where the distractions come in.
There's something that you say often, and you touched on it just a second ago. You said, whatever the goal demands. And I think that this is exactly what you're talking about. It's not a price you have to pay. It's not a time limit necessarily. It's who you have to become to achieve the goal. Will you talk about that as well?
Yeah, the price is whatever it takes. it's always going to be take whatever it takes. Like, I don't know whatever it's going to take, but I do know the goal comes down to knowing what I want more than anything. Not not a bunch of things that I want, but my one want more than anything, why I want it, and I don't compete against anybody. I don't have to compete against anybody. This is my race. This is your race. When we start competing, now we're coming from letting our ego drive us, thinking there's not enough. Your want, your goal comes from the essence of who you are. It is meant to be fulfilled. The only reason it's not fulfilled is people don't accept it. They keep starting and stopping, and they don't do the work of doing things out of their comfort zones on a regular basis. Like, one of the things I'm most proud of that we've done is we do so many things for the first time. And we've been doing that forever. Like, so now it's, okay, you just do it. It's going to go how it goes. And normally it never goes as planned. There's normally some form of adversity in the middle of it. But you just go with it. You just go with the adversity, and you're flexible, and you keep course correcting because you have an amazing mind that if your focus is locked in, you're going to know what to do because your brain is going to work for you, not against you.
At the beginning of this podcast, you said, I think most people have goals, and I think most people even have goals written down, at least the people that we're talking with, certainly the people listening to this podcast. A lot of people, though, the majority of people lose momentum on their goal. Why do you think they are losing momentum, and what does it take to keep momentum?
I'll tell you why they lose momentum, because they have shitty processes. I'll tell you that right now. They have processes Monday. By Wednesday, their processes are done. They don't commit to it. It demands an all-in commitment. Your goal has an identity. I want you to think of what that identity is. Who is that person who achieved it? Now, I want you to be that person every single day. Momentum is something we earn. We earn by our processes. We earn by explosive thinking. We don't earn by conforming. We don't earn by falling into fear. And so we have to let go. It takes a lot of guts. You're trusting in the unknown. You know, that's why people don't let go. They don't let go because they're not willing to risk. But until we're willing to risk, we're risking everything. And everyone goes, next year I'll do it. No, you won't. You won't do it next year. You know why? Next year, you're bringing the same outdated program with you until you make a decision that you are going to understand that you have to just follow a few rules to achieve goals. What are those few rules? You have to know what you want. You have to eliminate distractions. You have to create kick-ass processes from your goal, not to your goal, not your old processes. And you have to build your belief and courage. And action is the foundation, the most important thing we do every day.
How important is visualization, mental rehearsal, and auto-suggestion of the goal achieved within the goal-setting process?
It's very crucial. I can give you thousands of examples of this. I was listening to a podcast a few months ago, and this top movie producer, he mentally rehearses 60 minutes a day. First thing he wakes up, for 60 minutes, he mentally rehearses. Because mental rehearsal, to our brain, it is real. It is like it is happening right now. You watch top performers in any industry, they mentally rehearse. I don't think you have to mentally rehearse for 60 minutes, but I definitely think you should make it a practice that you do twice a day for 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, of disciplining your senses to see what you would see had you already achieved the goal, to hear somebody congratulating you for achieving the goal, to taste, have a celebratory dinner because you achieved the goal, and to smell what you would smell. And when you do that, the feeling is what we're all going after. We're chasing a feeling. That accomplishment is a feeling. It's not a thing. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. We're into growing. That's what the dopamine release is. So if you're going to take goal achievement seriously, you're going to have to observe and course correct. Am I still coming from the old model? Oh, I was coming from that old model. I've got to course correct in that moment. And the more you start really creating great processes to change, it'll change the game. What are some key things to change? You have to question what you're doing. Question the requirements of whatever it takes. What is whatever it takes? Like if I want to be a great salesperson, I have to have a great sales presentation. If I want to be a great copywriter, I've got to be the best in the world at copywriting. Then you have to eliminate more than you think. Don't assume it's just one or two things. Sure, it's 3 things every 90 days. But those 3 things add up. But those are the most comfortable 3 things that you're used to. Those are the counter priorities that are holding you back. Then you've got to simplify and focus on deliberate practice of those most important top 20% of your activities that are creating 80% of your results. Normally, those are 3 or 4 things. And if we do those 3 to 4 things great, then we get a sense of urgency. We put a rocket on our back and we're a sprint runner during our sprints. And then you automate yourself where it would be harder for you not to do it than do it. So it's absolutely critical that we mentally rehearse. It's absolutely critical that we fall in love with our goal. I will tell you what I've discovered about the goal achievement process over 17 years of doing this. I know that my goal is not a magnificent obsession if I'm letting the present results control me. It's not because I don't look at the present results, but I'll know if I'm controlled by it, it's not an obsession. I don't believe I'm going to do it. It's still separate from me. But when I turn the goal into a love story, it's always on my mind. And when I have adversity, it doesn't get me down. It gets me more excited. It gets me more inspired. It gets me more creative. So that's how you'll know, oh, I still have more work to do to radically accept my goal. I have more work to do to rewire myself because I can't achieve anything I'm not wired for. So you don't get upset, but you'll also know when you are getting upset, it's because you don't believe it. And until you believe a thing, you're not going to achieve it.
Like to note that mic drop, radically accept the idea, mic drop. That is so good. I don't like to say anything too controversial on the podcast, but I'm going to go ahead and say something maybe controversial. You don't like the term manifestation. You're not big on manifestation. You are more into the goal achievement process. Explain the difference and why you feel that way.
I mean, the term itself is fine, but I don't like the term because the way it's been polarized. I always say people will be like, I'm a great manifester, but you never have people tell you, listen, I'm a great manifester at shit, right? They always say I'm a great manifester for the good, but I had a client ask me that, and I said, tell me what manifestation means. And they froze. And they said, the stuff that, the good things that I do. I go, that's not what manifestation is. Manifestation is just our deepest intent on an unconscious level. We manifest all day long. So the term itself, I'm not really against, but I'm more against I'm more for the deep internal work. I'm for actions out of our comfort zone. I'm for stretching our mind, and we could do it all over the place. And because you have to do the work. I mean, you have to have a great work ethic. You have to build.
People hear manifestation and think that they can just think and not act.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, they think that they can visualize all day, then they're going to get it. And that's not accurate. Yeah. I'm big on letting go. I think everything should be effortless. I think when it's not effortless, we're working against the laws. But to make something effortless, you have to upgrade your wiring on a subconscious level. We have to put time in for any goal that I've ever achieved. I've had to reprogram my subconscious mind. And that takes work, that takes discipline, that takes commitment. Most people just want to do it without putting that work and commitment. And that's why I'm not for that term, because of how it's been polarized. But manifestation is, we're doing it all day long. And it's just our deepest intent on an unconscious level. That's what manifestation is.
So I will never forget one of our world-class wealth events. It was the first day, and you came in and you had everybody write down their goal. And then you said, all right, now I'd like you to 10x it. And the energy in the room was just like, everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
And, the next day it got so much better, but they had to sit with it for a minute, right? Whenever they first heard that or saw their goal written as times 10, it felt really overwhelming. And I think anyone who has set a really big goal can relate to the feeling of it excites you and then it overwhelms you, and then it excites you and then it overwhelms you. How can you stay in control of the overwhelm or overcome the overwhelm through the goal achievement process?
Well, in the beginning, the goal, if it's a worthy goal, it's going to feel impossible. But remember what I said, what one goal would change your life? One goal would demand you to transform your life? That's why we 10x the goal. I am more into 10xing someone's emotional state, because if I can 10x their behaviors, I can 10x their disciplines and their standards. They're going to create the goal by default. The goal is a target. It's a feeling we're chasing, but what we have to do is find what that is. So I always tell people the goal's not bigger than you. And then I try to simplify it for everybody, because that's how I work with myself, is it's just a goal. It's just a goal. Like, don't make it bigger. I want you to be the bigger version. I want you to be committed to it. Why? We never do anything without reasons. So what are our reasons to 10x? And if somebody doesn't want to 10x, there's nothing wrong with that. That's their choice. I encourage it because we have infinite potential and they're capable of doing so much better than what they're currently doing. I'm capable of doing so much better than I'm currently doing. I'm aware of that. I'm always aware of that. And that motivates me to keep getting better. That motivates me to disrupt comfort in our team. That motivates me to disrupt comfort in our clients. I don't do it by accident. I know what I'm doing, because I know until I disrupt comfort, I can't get somebody to create exponential growth.
This is a topic that I think we could go on talking about all day long, because there's so many aspects of it and layers to it. I feel like we touched on a lot, and I would love to get into an action step for this week.
Well, I would like you to observe your goal, and I would like you to ask yourself, just for the last 7 days, have I been coming from the strategy of my goal? Or have I been defaulting back to what I'm already good at? So if you're going after a big goal, I want to start training you that every time you have to come from the strategy of the goal. So when you're planning your goal achieving activities the night before, you're writing out your top 3 to 6 goal achieving activities, minimum 3. Look at the list and say, is that the strategy from the goal, or is it to the goal? This will create a massive shift in you, and it will speed up the goal achievement process. The goal achievement process demands you to number one, come from the strategy of the goal, to eliminate distractions, to come from the identity. So you increase your belief that it is already here. Everything is already here. Creation's already done. It first starts in our mind once we radically accept the idea. Until we radically accept it, it's not here. It is not here. Until you'll know when you radically accept it as a reminder, because it turns into a love story. You're never coming from lack or limitation. You're coming from, what can I do next? How can I do it? And then you get to work on those 3 to 6 action steps every day. You do it for 5 days a week. That's 15 wins towards your goal. And it's coming from the goal, 15 wins from your goal. Over 30 days, that's 94 and a half wins a month. What do you think is going to happen after 6 months, after 3 months, after 12 months? You're going to create 3 big achievements every single year, minimum.
All right. Thank you so much, Arash, and thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review. Share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you next week on another episode of the 7-Figure Standard Podcast. Thanks, Arash.
Thanks, Mikey.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7-Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7 Figure Standard.